Hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in today's video, we are taking a look at the symbolic story of Happy Game as we walk through its many mind-bending sights on a mission to find meaning within the madness. Recently, I played through the story of Happy Game, so if you'd like to see the game in full, as always, I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one. But for now, sit back, relax, and let's return to this eerily wondrous world for today's episode of Horror Games Explained. When first loading into Happy Game, we are greeted by the sight of an ominous smiley face floating in the centre of the screen. It nods and then looms over a young boy who sits on his bedroom floor colouring with his crayons. Upon clambering into bed and falling asleep, we are seemingly drawn into the child's mind and begin to experience his subconscious. As the kid begins walking through the darkness ahead, we can hear him mumbling nervously, suggesting he has a very anxious personality. It isn't long before the boy discovers a mysterious gift box, and upon opening it up, a host of different toys begin to emerge. By opening up these toys and pulling them apart, a sinister dark energy resides within. It becomes evident this child associates toys with darkness. As they merge together, the smiley face appears once more from within them. We see quick flashes of a boy impaled on a spike, and then, all of a sudden, we are taken to a memory buried deep within his mind. The boy sits in a park playing with a football, happy and content, until a bully snatches it away from him and runs off, the child left crying and alone. With this information in hand, we can now easily explain many of the horrors that lie ahead. This boy associates toys with trauma from his past, bullies breaking them, stealing them, and using toys to make fun of him. You'll also note that when these bad things happen, that mysterious smiley face emerges fleetingly. So we can also deduce that this face is also associated with negative thoughts. By the end of this video, all will be explained, but for now, let's continue. The further we travel through this first dream state, the more evidence of dark repressed memories inhabiting these toys we uncover. Take this sequence for example, where upon opening the mouth of this pig plushie, a creepy demon emerges from within. This demon offers up its eyeball, from which a toy resides within. When pulled apart, the toy releases a football and reveals the very soul of the child being torn apart from distress. It's all symbolic. Demons represent dark thoughts. They are associated with bad memories attached to the toys from the child's past, who is constantly haunted by them in his subconscious. The boy also discovers a giant bully holding the football inside their head. Once he tries to get the ball back from them, the bully chases him, covered in blood. This suggests the bullies beat the boy when he tried to stand up for himself. Eventually the boy reaches a vast chasm where hundreds of his avatars can be seen impaled on spikes. His ball is within reach at the end of a narrow ledge, and upon retrieving it, the boy wakes from his nightmare. Football in hand, the boy now seems relieved and excitable, but this soon passes. The ball is pulled from his grasp and that ominous smiley face returns, taking control of the child's mind and placing him back in a deep sleep. Dream 2 begins with the child approaching the end of a jetty. In his arms he cradles a cuddly toy rabbit. This is another flashback to a dark memory from the child's past, one where he drops his cuddly companion in the depths of a murky river. This second dream is themed around the concept of retrieving this toy. The boy wakes up, but it seems he is woken inside his own dream, a dream within a dream so to speak. His surroundings are serene and peaceful, a sunny meadow of flowers stretching as far as the eye can see, and beside the bed his rabbit companion now sits. Before he can retrieve his toy, a creepy and mischievous rabbit-like entity steals it away, and so the boy gives chase. The rabbit rings a crying bell and leaps into the hole in the ground. From this hole, a giant bloodthirsty bunny emerges and swallows the boy whole. Once again, this is all symbolic for past events. The hole in the ground representing how the rabbit sunk into the river, the crying bell the boy's reaction to this, and the big bunny that emerges thereafter, a literal representation of the deathly outcome awaiting the child if he attempted to dive into the water after his lost toy. This tells us the boy could not swim, and we'll see more evidence of this to substantiate our claim later. By fattening up and then feeding a host of these pesky nightmare rabbits to their giant overlord, the boy manages to enter the hole in the ground and continue his search. Now there are many points of interest to pick up on during this second dream. The first is the continuous sequences involving death and mutilation of rabbit-like creatures. Logically, we can conclude these rabbits symbolise the boy's beloved cuddly toy, from the dark memory associated with this particular dream. These rabbits eventually turn into playful heart-shaped humanoids. Now hearts have a symbolic meaning too, they represent both love and affection. As we end up destroying these hearts, in addition to the rabbits, their meaning is quite obvious. They represent the love the boy felt toward his rabbit companion and the destruction of said companion by his own hand, when he accidentally dropped it into the depths of the river. These hearts also seem to enjoy a host of different activities, such as listening to music, eating ice cream, playing tea party, playing the guitar, enjoying park rides, and so on and so forth. These are all likely things the boy enjoyed too. Once again, these hearts represent things he loved from his past. During our journey, we catch glimpses of the circus through various imagery involving tents and clowns. In Dream 2, many of these hearts partake in circus-type activities, such as the strongman seen here and the juggling character seen here. So it's likely the circus was a big part of the boy's childhood too. He may have even been born into it from a carny family. Eventually, the boy manages to use guillotines to chop up the giant man-eating rabbit, and this reveals a chilling sight. A cluster of severed heads, all belonging to this child, are bundled up inside the body of a once hostile rabbit. What does this mean? Well, when we combine this image with that of the many ravens feasting on the corpses of the Heart People, it leads to one conclusion. Ravens represent loss and grief, and we know the boy lost his rabbit companion, so the appearance of his severed head inside that of a giant bunny tells us this was a scarring tragedy that haunted the child forevermore. An event which damaged him for life. An event which brought his dark passenger, that smiley face, along with it. In fact, moments later the boy discovers a smiley face he can wear like a mask. A coping mechanism against all the misery in his life so far. Once the mask is on, the boy can't seem to get it off again, and now is at the mercy of gloved hands which attempt to drag him down. Despite this, the world around him is all sunshine and rainbows, at least at first glance. It isn't long before the boy reaches a body of water he cannot pass, once again proof he cannot swim. He therefore requests the assistance of smiling angel-like figures to help him cross by boat, almost as if these happy faces give him courage and strength when all seems lost. However, the next face the child encounters is quite unfriendly indeed, a scowling look of hatred plastered across its yellow dome. This hateful creature rips the smiling heads from anyone who attempts to pass by. This same fate befalls our hapless hero, who now rolls around as the mask he once hid behind. His body, real face, and therefore identity is no more, and he has been consumed by the mask. Bound to it. This mask brings the boy some happiness though. He was never very successful at sports. In fact, we saw the boy was robbed of his football by a bully. Here in this dream, behind this mask, the boy shoots the winning goal at a football match full of excited fans. Rather than ridicule, the boy experiences what it is like to be loved by his peers and celebrated for being good at something for the very first time. The mask gives him power, if only in his own mind. Soon the boy rediscovers his body and then encounters the angry-faced man once again, who proceeds to break the mask. The boy stretches out the angry man's face in grotesque fashion, and this seemingly brings the tormented soul some form of twisted happiness. This ends when he blows bubblegum up in his face and breaks into tears. The child comforts this now gentle giant and gives up his broken mask to help nurse his misery. Moments later, a giant blood-stained face then emerges from the ground, sprouting gloved hands which grab the boy and his fluffy bunny and drag them down into a pit of darkness and despair. This dark hole seems to represent the depths of the river. It is littered with lost rabbits and fish bones. However, it also represents the dark pit of despair the boy found himself in after putting on the mask and living through it. You'll also notice the ominous smiley face present during the darkest moments of the boy's subconscious returns in this room too. Now, in order to escape and retrieve his lost rabbit, the boy must figure out 3 grotesque puzzles, each buried inside a smiley head. The first puzzle is based around a damaged brain who clings to a smiley heart, beating faster and faster until it explodes. The second focuses on a red rabbit who toasts tiny goblin-like characters over a fire after impaling them on a stick. This rabbit meets a sticky end after falling headfirst into the flames and burning to a crisp. The third puzzle centers around a cruel character with a smiley face hiding inside a music box and butchering rabbits. This is until we turn the tables on him and those weird little rabbits get some sweet revenge. You'll notice how each of these corrupted figures holds onto a heart with a smiley face, almost as if the smile itself is corrupting them from within. Completing each of these puzzles destroys one of the 3 demons holding onto the bunny rabbit, and eventually boy and bunny are reunited. You'll notice it is the smiley face at the center of the room which destroys these entities, seemingly helping the boy despite attaching itself to the trauma in his mind. Waking up in his bedroom with both his ball and bunny rabbit, the dark passenger takes hold of the child's brain once again and puts him straight back to sleep. It's time to explore dream number 3. Waking in a black and white dreamscape, the boy is united with his best friend, a little black dog. Together, the two of them venture forward through a forest-like environment. At this point, we witness the final flashback to a memory from the boy's past. In this memory, we see that the little boy lost his dog while playing fetch with it in the woods. It appears the third dream is based around the boy's fears after his dog became lost in the woods that day. We see these fears represented in the following ways. Firstly, the fear of being lost. Take a look at this sequence, for example, where the boy and his dog ride a ball of dark matter symbolising the woods themselves. They start off slow but soon begin running, the surrounding woodland swirling around them in a rush of confusion and panic. The audio during this segment also represents the feeling of being hopelessly lost. Secondly, the boy fears that his lost dog may be hurt or that others may be harming it. This is displayed during 2 sequences. The first near the beginning of the dream where the dog becomes captured by several shadowy figures, and the second in this shot here. Little girls dressed up to symbolise the wood itself beat the poor dog with sticks. The third fear the boy felt while being lost in these woods and separated from his companion was the fear of death. We see humanoid figures which represent the woods closing in on him and consuming the boy, trapping him in darkness and scarring his mind with a deep trauma that would haunt him into adulthood. Death is also represented by much of the dream's setting, taking place underneath the roots of the very trees themselves, the ground to be the final resting place for the boy if he was to die that day. Hands raise up from the ground in an attempt to grab the boy and claim him for the forest. He sees visions of himself floating face down in the water, again evidence that he could not swim. The boy is picked up by an entity made from root and dirt, and from its face he must pull on tentacles to free versions of himself from the grasp the very forest itself had over him. The puzzles themselves are all fashioned around elements of the wild: trees, stones, and the skeletal remains of the dead. So without doubt, this third nightmare is a representation of fear and death. After making his way through the forest and escaping the phantom-like root creatures haunting him, the child locates his dog. However, he is too late and it dies before his eyes. There is no way to know whether this represents the dog dying that day in the forest, or rather it was simply never found again. Either way, this was a memory the child would never be able to shake. And so we come to the end of Happy Game, and it's time to explain the real meaning behind the game and its strange conclusion. Before waking up for the last time, the boy falls into a creepy in-between dimension where he enters and exits scarred and damaged brains. These all represent his fragmented state of mind. Over the years, a darkness took hold, the child's thoughts holding him hostage with trauma from the past, never able to break free and move on. He could only wear a temporary mask to shield himself from these memories, a band-aid to block out the darkness for a short while. When he finally awakens, we discover what this mask really was. The boy is no longer a boy at all, but a grown man. These memories have been following him for years. We see the man appears to be melting with a smile on his face. This is symbolic too, representing drug use, the way this man coped with his tragic past. However, this temporary escape through narcotics only masked the pain and misery the man felt inside. He never grew up to become a functional adult. As we see from the toys all around him, he is still living in the past. With this revelation in mind, everything now makes sense. The smiley face that turns up whenever a bad memory rears its ugly head symbolises the man taking drugs to try and repress that negative thought process. But by doing so, he is in fact damaging his mind further and remaining a prisoner to its dark addiction, trapped in the mind of a disturbed child forevermore. The control these substances have over the man can be seen in the pictures here, a secret we discover near the beginning of our journey. So these haven't been dreams at all, but rather hallucinations the man experiences while being on drugs. Now this man must shake his addiction or forever remain its prisoner. And on that rather morbid note, we have reached the end of today's Story Explained video. Hopefully Happy Game now makes sense and your understanding of the tale it tells is a little clearer. Perhaps you have a different interpretation altogether. Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching and I will see you on the next video.